This is a sequel to a video that I published in May of 2021. I highly advise that you watch that video before this one. A link to it can be found in the description. Without further ado, my name is GiBi, and this is a continuation of a short introduction to Chris Chan, Chris's Darkest Days. My last video ended in May of 2021, having recapped everything we knew about Chris's life until then. Unbeknownst to the world at the time, there were a lot of things going on in the background of Chris's life that were actually greatly impactful. These things wouldn't come to light until much later, so we're actually going to go back in time to mid-2020, in the midst of the pandemic. We're now going to take a look at what we missed. In late 2020, a teenager named Isabella Yankee became fascinated in Chris due to his renewed popularity online. It's unclear when Bella first contacted Chris, but the first public evidence of their interactions was on November 13th, 2020, when Chris posted a video to YouTube that had been animated by Bella. This animation also had ties to the Praetors, who had become known to the public a month prior. The extent of Bella's involvement in their group isn't well understood, but they at the very least worked on Chris Chan content together starting in late 2020. When the Praetors were doxed by the Watchmen, Bella's name did not come up. MKR of the Watchmen did not seem to be aware of Bella's relevance until almost a year later. Despite this, Kyle and Lane Chu, both members of the Watchmen, certainly knew of her existence. In December of 2020, Chris mentioned that he and Bella had had a discussion about Avatar: The Last Airbender, and Lane Chu replied, "Who's Bella?" "One of our Praetor group friends. She's the one who made up the lovely animation." "Ah, I see." Chris then links to the Chris Chan Sonichu intro animation. "Oh yeah, the gratuitous porny one? We are not judging. Plus, she's actually cool to talk with. Judgment is good. Sycophants are cheap." Kyle was one of the main figures within the Watchmen, and it's clear he had strong feelings about Bella going back to late 2020. In February 2021, in a Discord call between members of the Watchmen and the Praetors, a joke was told about zapping Chris with a taser and selling quick branded tasers on the online store. Chris piped up that he would gladly do this, as he is immune to electricity.
What are you gonna do the testing video you promised?
The testing video?
Can CWC like tase himself on video for lols?
Well,
I'll
we're gonna
do
leave.
it.
What?
I'd volunteer.
What? What?
The two groups then argued amongst each other, with some thinking it was funny, and others taking Chris's well-being seriously.
I'd take myself. In serious and in joke,
Look,
I would.
Look, are you sure though? Like we had a whole discussion about why it's a bad idea. We'll talk about this later, okay?
I've really
got to go before we make any rash decisions that involve CWC being zapped.
Obviously. But I mean, this body is part of electricity, literally. So it could take it.
This conversation got it into Chris's head that a taser might help him achieve the dimensional merge. On February 17th, 2021, Chris, posing as Sonichu, posted about being lonely in the Watchmen Discord server. "Hey, everyone. I have some good news and some bad news. Good news is that I am getting to do some self-help and love for this body that it needs. The bad news, not counting that time in April 2012, this body has never been genuinely cuddled or laid with someone who Chris, or I at this time for over 10 months now, have known, talked with, and have some respect for with a mutual return on that feeling from the other individual. And this body is still wanting to be cuddled or laid with a woman. This body does need re-energizing, and yes, We have considered MKR and Bella and Annabelle from the Praetor group in that thought process as well. We do not wish to offend anyone, nor make anyone do anything they don't feel at ease doing, including anything for sympathy. Sympathy lay is majorly out of the question. It's unknown if Bella was in the Watchmen group chat at that time, but at least one member of the Praetors was running an account called @Praetor, which was included in the channel so the Watchmen could communicate with them. They had previously done the same thing with Jacob Sockness. This post was sent at 2 a.m. When MKR awoke 8 hours later, she made no mention of Chris's pass at her. According to my own conversations with MKR, she didn't consciously register anyone with the name Bella as being important until August 3rd. Also around February, a follower contacted Chris, who was still pretending to be Sonichu, and through a series of conversations convinced him that the best way to get a girlfriend would be to return to his own body, thus ending Sonichu's year-long possession of Chris. Early 2021 was a tumultuous time for the Watchmen. Their leader, Not, had banned several members from the group, and there was almost a revolving door of new members and new people in leadership roles. The Watchmen had previously set up a role known as Lane Chew, an invention of Chris's, to be Chris's confidant. The Lane Chew role, which was played by 4 different people in its year-long history, interviewed Chris and posted his responses publicly on the Quickie. The third Lane Chew, played by a user named Anaxis, was banned from the Watchmen in February 2021. Chris did not like this much. YouTuber Wildcat became the 4th Lane Chew, but Chris refused to acknowledge him in this role, and so Chris started speaking with Anaxis outside the confines of the Watchmen group. This could be said to be the first signs of a schism within the organization, although it would eventually be Wildcat who would unmake the Watchmen altogether. Also in February, Chris and one of the Praetors filmed a short scene in the local library as some sort of test for a movie they were making. The footage was acquired from one of Bella's friend's hacked email accounts. It's currently unknown who the cameraman is, but Chris, still as Sonichu at the time, can be seen making out with Rosechew. He also requests that for their project, they use CGI to bring all the Sonichus and Rosechews to life.
Rolling. So you can do different poses if you want. You can, that's a good one. I'm going to move over here for a second just to try and get a 360 view. All right, great, great.
This is where I got Rosie right here. She's being the temp right now.
I gotcha.
So my hand's on her shoulder.
Ah.
And this is me making out with her.
That was good. That was good. Gosh. So would you want Rosechew to be within this movie as a CGI character or as a fursuit character?
No, we gotta have her as CGI as well.
Yeah.
We gotta do CGI with pretty much all the Sonichus and Rosechews pretty much.
That's not a problem. That's not a problem. All right, I'm going to stop on one more shot here, just kind of holding it straight. Excellent. And
in May 2021, Chris wrote a post wishing his mother a happy Mother's Day. Barbara Ann Weston Chandler still looks good for her wise age. Hashtag Happy Mother's Day 2021. On June 1st, Chris channeled the persona of his younger self to make a statement on Twitter. Chris believes that he is actually 3 different people: Christopher, Christian, and Christine, and that all 3 souls are versions of himself that exist inside him. He channeled Christopher and wrote autobiographical details about his young life, specifically typing as if he were a young child speaking. The message read, "Hello everyone, my name is Christopher, or Chris for short. I'm feeling uncomfortable and nervous talking like this. I have been ever so observant over the years. As Christine has said, my view is on the youthful side. I've had some friends way back when. My closest friends were Sarah and Josh. I spoke for a while, only a few weeks old. This is true. I remember Mom and I were at the best store that day, and I spoke to her. I came into this world with the memories from my past life with Merlin, but other stuff became more important. I also remember shouting as I was playing that day when the babysitter got really upset and locked me in that room. I had no one to talk with, just the toys in that room. I did have a friend who came and played with me, my guardian Magi-chan. He talked to me and told me stories. I had dreams of visiting this large city, one of which is the one where I fled from a tall business building with a baby in hand, my future daughter. Still holding on to that dream, I didn't talk too much after that day with the babysitter. I was following Magi-chan's example of being telepathic, but apparently, not a lot of people were getting my messages. I played a lot with my toys. I read Berenstain Bears, I watched Sesame Street, Care Bears, Transformers, Smurfs, Muppet Babies, and Sonic the Hedgehog when he finally came on television. I played my Commodore 64 computer a lot. I typed the command in, halved the floppy disk with all those games saved on it in the disk drive, and I played whatever I felt like. I played with Sarah. We were neighbors. Ran around, tag, hide and seek, swing set. We had fun. We played with the other kids in the neighborhood. I also watched Charlie Brown and Snoopy Show a lot. Speech therapy at James Madison University. Had classes with Josh. We went to Kids Castle and had country fried steak with white gravy at Country Cookin'. School. Greene County schools were fun a lot of the time. I liked playing on the playground and on the computer. There was this fish game that had to do with bigger ones eating the smaller ones. That one scared me when the really big fish came around. Number Munchers was a lot of fun. Oregon Trail, Apple vs. Commodore. I gotta stick with the one I have at home for the better choice. I also played with my Transformers figures. I liked the Micromaster and the Action Master figures. They were within my reach when I became old enough. I have a few G2 toys, hardly any G1. We went to a lot of yard sales and flea markets. There was this flea market on the corner where Food Lion is now in Ruckersville. I was always calling it the junkyard. I don't know, I was a kid. In primary school, we had this awesome teacher, Miss Miller. She got married. My mom and dad and Magi-chan and I went to the reception party before Miss Miller moved to Utah. I liked our principal, Mr. Wade. He was a kind and understanding man. Dad worked at General Electric, the big building not far from here. He had a lot of papers from there. He designed the controls for plastic mills, steel mills, sawmills, and all that stuff. Mommy worked at Virginia Power in finances. She worked on a computer a lot at the desk with these removable walls. Mommy was a real business lady. Daddy was a real businessman. All these words that were one way I could get, but bunch of times over my head. Grown-up words to an extent were tough on a youthful mind, depending on how old the soul within is, and I was really old and beyond grown up. Autism really kept me feeling frustrated and overwhelmed, but I still had my thoughts and ideas and things. I read and look at pictures. I turned on the closed captions when they were available on the TV. Dad and I sometimes watched Nick at Night when he let me stay up late. Get Smart! Yay, Don Adams! I liked the RCA video disc player. Those vinyl DVDs we had in those hard plastic cases. I've put records on the turntables. They can break if you're not careful. Darkwing Duck is really cool. I did not like 4th grade. It sucked. Pinned down by those mean teachers. Mrs. Gady, why? Why did you pin me down with them? Why did you hurt me? Did autism really confound you? I had a crush on Tiffany Robinson, though. She was a really pretty girl. She lived somewhere else, though. Somewhere beyond Standardsville from where I lived. The courthouse visits really confused me some. I got really hurt from that pin me down. But did they really have to kick me out and force me into homeschool for 5th grade? I missed riding on the big bus to school that year. Sarah and I were really sad when Mom and Dad and Magi-chan and I had to move to Richmond to continue my education. But it turned out for the better. Awesome bonus, I won the Sonic the Hedgehog Watch and Win sweepstakes. That was a really good day when we bought those games and Zords. I'm feeling mentally drained right now. I think I need to have Christine have this body again. Thank you all for listening to me. On June 3rd, Chris started posting daily tarot card readings on Twitter. He would continue this until the day he stopped tweeting for good. Earlier I mentioned a YouTuber named Wildcat, a member of the Watchmen who had gained power over Chris in February. As time went on, his friendship with Chris grew, and so he gained more and more influence over Chris. Wildcat's YouTube channel was dedicated to documenting the macabre and the edgy, and his main series was a documentary on Randy Stair, the wise market shooter. Stair was a young man who believed that Ember from Danny Phantom was his girlfriend, and he had a ghost Sona named Andrew Blaze. His insanity can be viewed as a dark version of Chris's when juxtaposed. Wildcat introduced Stair's lore to Chris with his YouTube channel, and Chris took a liking to the mass shooter the same way he had previously been trolled into liking Ted Bundy. Andrew and I both have had interdimensional communications and relations through the Veil into C-197 half of our total universe, and then some in regard to the spiritual realms. Andrew knew her destiny and fulfilled her prophecy in the 1218 half here, and she knew her time and energy was needed more so in the spirit realms. Andrew and I are two examples of fully interdimensionally awakened individuals. Also, Andy Warhol was also an interdimensionally awakened individual, but he did not fully comprehend his situation and abilities at the time. Andrew and Andy were amongst the pioneers, and I am a literal goddess who had transcended and pioneered within and around their blazing trails, pun unintended, but observed, among the number of others of whom I have personally recognized and acknowledged amongst the author, artist, actor, and voice actor communities. Lots of love for all of you, be safe and well, and Wildcat, you know to stay as awesome and powerful as you are. You rock too. Around this time, Chris was contacted to be a guest artist featured in the upcoming Binding of Isaac card game. Chris began to promote the game, and did in fact add his art to the project. He was also considered to be a voice on the show Smiling Friends, although the creators decided not to send an invitation to him, as it would cost too much money to use a non-union voice actor. Meanwhile, MKR and Knot were getting tired of Wildcat's growing abuse of Chris and his introduction of the Randy Stair lore. Wildcat was doxed in June by an anonymous source, revealing his name to be Sean, although he also went by Connor. Connor is the middle name of the owner of the Kiwi Farms, Joshua Connor Moon, who also goes by Noel. And so MKR theorized that Sean picked this name because he wanted to be the next Noel, the next confidant and de facto controller of Chris. Sean was sure that Knot had been the one to dox him, so he gathered evidence and confronted him during a Discord call amongst some members of the Watchmen. Sean recorded the call, which included him jutting into the conversation with the air of an anime villain revealing his master plan and catching Knot out on his scheme. Knot and the others shrugged him off, but this didn't stop Sean from posting the audio of his confrontation online, along with the evidence that Knot had been the one to dox him.
Now, Knot, I have some serious questions to ask you. So a few days ago, there was an account on Kiwi Farms called Nightmare, and it showed up in the Randy Stair thread, and it showed up on like one of my alts on Kiwi Farms, and essentially it was linking to this I guess the 9chan thread about me, and this account was essentially doxing me. So I was wondering if you had any idea on who this individual is, because I have a few guesses on who it is, and...
Didn't you already figure out it was like lore or whatever?
The chick who was in your comment section?
No.
The answer is fucking no. Shut up and watch the damn movie.
No.
Okay.
No, listen. This is a serious thing I'm discussing. I've also been seeing this individual, this nightmare person, lurking in the Rika thread.
Okay, clearly you need to take this up with Knot.
Yes, I'm talking to
You
Knot.
do it in text, okay?
Okay, so Noah, you want me and Knot to simply just
If you're gonna hash out something between you two, hash it out.
I want to watch.
No, dude, I didn't dox you.
There you go. Thank you. It's fucking conclusive.
Okay, but no, I need to know, like, who do you think this person is, though? Because if it's not you, despite the fact that people have been accusing you of being the one that did it,
If you could
accuse them other than you.
If you could name that many enemies you have, doubtless you have 10 times more. If you're gonna accuse someone, fucking accuse someone. If you're gonna waffle around, fucking don't, okay?
But, like, there's a lot of speculation on who it is, though, and I'm wondering, like, if Nod can actually tell me the truth about what.
There's not speculation on it. Like, I get you want to believe it. I specifically haven't posted on lolcow.org or anywhere because they literally will pick apart any of my posts, so I just haven't been on there. Or even on Kiwi for that matter.
I've even been talking to even Josh in DMs. Yes, Null. And he claims that it was you.
Cool. I know he's very, like, he has no problem with sharing IPs and storing IPs. Tell him to fucking show you, dude. I don't give a fuck.
A little shitposty question for you, this is a funny one. This has nothing to do with, like, any of the allegations against you. It's more like a funny question. Do you still cross-dress from time to time?
No.
I mean, everybody looks good in a dress. Unless you're Jacob Sockness.
I mean, were you, by the way, I think like months ago, this is sort of getting back to the funny question about cross-dressing. Didn't you mention, I don't know if you were joking or what, like, at the time, but yeah, didn't you say something about, like, dressing up or what? And I don't know, just to spice things up, unless you were just shitposting.
Your hard on for Anon is showing.
Yeah, dude, like, I don't want to tell you anything, dude. Like, you go around telling OP that I'm in love with you. Fuck you, dude. I'm not telling you shit. Like, fucking, like, infer weird shit. And when I tell you, dude, like, I'll tell you things word for fucking word, and you go and repeat it, but, you know, you completely miss out on the context, or you completely, like, misrepresent what I said. So I'm not telling you shit anymore.
I see, I understand. You have been one of my bestest friends on the internet for 2 years. Like, I owe you a lot. I appreciate you for being there for me even when Meowser was gone. I appreciate you being there when Lore doxed me. Like I have so many things to thank you for.
Noel, owner of the Kiwi Farms, dislikes Knot. He banned him from the Kiwi Farms around this time. Sean formed a new group, the Knights of Quick, and re-invited some old members of the Watchmen that Knot had banned. He also reached out to Chris to get him to cease contact with the Watchmen. He recorded a call between several of the Watchmen, including MKR and Knot, where they made edgy jokes about Nazis. He sent this audio to Chris.
I got the other two down to watching that fucking Hitler thing I showed you. Hitler, the Rise of Evil, complete movie, -- Hitler movie.
Oh, I think I already saw this movie.
Yeah, those damn Jews. As, you know, the doctor who's treating me has a very large nose and beard.
When do we get to watch the Jews get gassed?
I want to kill the Jews.
Yes.
Chris then sent personalized text messages to Knot and MKR explaining that he could not be their friends if they had such hate in their hearts, and so he quit the Watchmen's Discord server and joined the Knights of Quick. Sean was quick to invite members of the Praetors to the group, wanting to make sure they knew that the Knights of Quick wouldn't be as belligerent as the Watchmen. Overnight, he became the most influential person in Chris's life, the new idea guy. 2 days later, on June 27th, 2021, Chris had sex with his mother, Barbara. There were warning signs about Chris's relationship with Barb. On July 2nd, Chris told Sean that he was in a relationship with an older woman. This is seriously, strictly confidential. I genuinely do not want this to get out in public ears and radar, especially anywhere on the freaking Kiwi Farms. I have a sex partner of our 1218 half of our universe. She has been very satisfactory. Her identity needs to remain a strict secret, and this is a mutual, genuine affection. I'm finally getting the long overdue experience, and she is helping me explore. The relationship is open, still, and I remain compassionate and loyal with Magichan and the others. Since we've started the ship progress with the first intercourse last Sunday, I have been feeling a lot less physically stressed and improved quality of life. We're mainly still exploring the options and teaching each other to when we find what works best. She is physically older than I, considerably fragile, but she has great inner strength and soul power. The next day, Chris ended his conversations with Sean by telling him, "I gotta go. It's about shower time, and my partner and I have our fun about 9 o'clock tonight. We go for every 3 nights for the deed at the present. I will check you later." Chris couldn't help himself, and relayed this information to Noel, too. On July 5th, he said, "I had sex with someone last week. Someone on this half of our universe. I worked thoroughly and compassionately with her beforehand and at present. She's physically older than I. If heard, one may say it's something out of an anime or fan fiction. But yeah, keeping her safe as well. Also, my next appointment with my doctor is on the 20th, so I'll get checked then, to be safe. Condoms are being used in the intercourse." Noel asked for details, and Chris gave very vague but technically true answers, like that she was over 50 and very frail. Noel mentioned that it was good that she and Chris had a lot in common, and Chris said, "Actually, she doesn't watch much anime, or animated series, or even television these days for that matter. Adam West was one of her favorite people back in the 60s, however, as it was for her son back then." Chris must have thought himself rather clever leaving references to himself in there, as if he was having fun laying breadcrumbs, hoping Noel would figure out who his partner was from his hints. Let's back up again. At this point, I'm going to introduce the character of the Sutras into the narrative. For reasons that will become apparent later, and in fairness to her, the Quick community has decided to conceal her identity, much like that of the Wallflower. The Sutras is a young woman who, like many before her, became interested in Chris after his renewed popularity after Geno Samuel's documentary series became popular. In a Quick fan Discord server, she made mock-up posts of a dating simulator with Chris Chan. She also made jokes about wanting to flirt with him and actually date him. In July, the Sutras was one of the first people inducted into the Knights of Quick, along with Bella, the gratuitous porny one. On July 9th, Chris announced his intentions to go to Everfree Northwest, a My Little Pony convention taking place in Seattle. He intended to drive there from Virginia. Noel, feeling for Chris's safety, helped Chris set up a GoFundMe for a plane ticket, as well as a system where people could commission artwork for Chris. He also asked to get in contact with Kiwi Farms members who were planning on attending, so they could set up protection for Chris. Jacob Sockness, who you might remember lives in California, is also a fan of My Little Pony. He made his intentions known to Chris that he planned on going to Everfree so he could finally meet Chris in person. This threat created the need for Chris to surround himself with defenders who could protect him from Sockness at the event. One of these people was going to be the Sutras. At the time, Chris was having video calls with her, where he twirled his hair and made kissy faces at her.
"I promise, should I ever see anything G5 related at the convention, I promise I will not get angry in front of you. Okay? Anyway, thank you. Just thank you. And I love you. I love you."
On July 15th, Chris's elderly dog Snoopy passed away, and he buried him in the backyard with the help of his neighbors. On July 19th, Sean inducted the Sutras and Bella into the Knights of Quick Discord server. One of the Knights of Quick recognized Bella and asked if she was with the Paraders. "Not really, I just did the animation for Christine, but they still contact me." The next day, Bella invited the Sutras into her own Discord server with her friends. This group does not have an official name, but many of them use the server bots to play chess, so we'll call them the Chess Club. The Chess Club was full of edgy teens who made rape jokes and posted porn, and bragged about bullying students at their schools. Bella made these more edgy channels hidden, and invited the Sutras, Sean, and Chris into a channel to chat about the pony convention. In the other channels, she told her friends about how she thought the Sutras was cute, how she had a crush on her, and how she wanted to dance with her at the con. Other club members made references to their plans to get Chris to commit suicide for their amusement, and Bella also bragged about how she had extorted money from Chris. July 27th would prove to be the last normal day of Chris Chan's life, if you can call anything I've discussed so far normal. While walking through a store, Chris saw toys for the upcoming new My Little Pony show. Because Chris doesn't like change, and because he foresaw Friendship is Magic going on for 5 more seasons than it actually had, he sees this new reboot as an abomination and a blight on our timeline. He claims to have snapped his fingers and made the toys disappear. When he got home, he recorded a rant video about how angry he was at Hasbro, the makers of My Little Pony.
Listen here, and listen good. I have told y'all, and I've kept it going time and time again, but y'all keep putting it on. But My Little Pony Generation 5 is canceled. This is the last straw, because for the good and safety of this timeline, you need to get that shit pulled off of shelves in Amazon stores or wherever else all the dang far away and cancel the frickin' G5 series. Make sure it never gets published anywhere and never, ever talk about it again and make the official cancellation notice public. You have to cancel G5. If you don't cancel G5, you're gonna put this entire timeline in chaos. So I'm giving you this warning to tell you the truth and straight up. Cancel Generation 5 now, Hasbro! Now!
In the background of the video, you can see a hole in Chris's wall. When asked about how the holes got there, Chris said, "My hands have punched that wall more than once in the past, yes, but it was part of the sequence of events at the time in practice of physically breaking the threads of the Iron Curtain veil. This means Chris was punching his wall to try to break the barriers between dimensions." If Chris held true to his description of his relationship with his new girlfriend, and they truly had sex every 3 days, then between the dates of June 27th and July 27th, they would have had intercourse 10 times. The key figures are now in place. The Quick Illuminati has evolved from the Guard Dogs to the Watchmen to the Knights of Quick, which is run by Sean, who is also involved in the Praetors, the chess club, and is on good terms with the Kiwi farms. Jacob Sockness is threatening Chris, and so the Sutras, who has feelings for Chris, and Bella, who has feelings for the Sutras, are going to protect him at the convention. Bella secretly leads the chess club, a group of edgy college students who are taking advantage of Chris. Chris drove his true friends away and was bursting at the seams to tell someone his dark secret. On the morning of July 28th, he called Bella, who had the reputation of being the porny one, a sex-positive figure who Chris thought would be supportive of his choices. That morning, Bella didn't know what Chris was going to tell her, but the call went down like this. Bella recorded this call on her iPad, and various versions would be released to the public in the coming days. The version I'm going to pull from is the longest known version at 28 minutes, which was supplied to me directly by Bella via email. At the time, she was trying to control the narrative by reaching out to various people, and so she supplied this to me as a kind of peace offering. It is very apparent that it is edited in some places. I have then chopped down the 28 minutes into a couple minutes that I'm going to play for you now, with the best transcription that I'm capable of doing. All of that to say, take the following audio with a grain of salt.
With the offense and everything, and I was feeling like I really needed a sensual release.
Mm-hmm.
And not too many individuals this side of the Iron Curtain were coming up to the plate right there. So, and then everything was coming into good alignment, and
right.
It was good. The signs were all there, and even Emmanuel, God just said it was okay, and God me towards it. Right?
God said this is okay? Yeah, then you don't really have anything to worry about if God himself said this is fine. But how did this happen? How did this come about?
Well, among which just mainly I was really, really horny, and I need the true and honest relationship to come about, so obviously this was one of the best ways to do it, despite it being with the... And I don't want to believe in
labels at all, but
Right.
he obviously tells the incest fanfics have come true and shit.
I didn't even know there was such a thing. I didn't even know there was incest fanfics. Were there about you and Barbara? I can't believe that. How did you approach her?
Approached her with care and caution, gave her comfort and talked with her. We just branched out slow and steady, and then I encouraged her positively, let her make the first move.
She did? Really? She made the first move?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Wow, Barbara. And how did she respond when you approached her? What'd she say?
I don't remember exactly what she said, but it was I think she was partially confused at one point, but then she came around, obviously.
Right. So she got into it. How was the first kiss? You kissed her? How did that feel? Having known this woman for your whole life, how did that feel?
Oh yeah, I mean it was simple lip to lip kiss contact, but yeah, it was actually good and it felt right.
When did you start having feelings for Barbara?
Well, for a long time. I mean, I remember even mentioning some time ago in one of my videos that I even had dreams where I had sex with her, obviously.
Really?
So,
Yeah.
I'd say it was satisfactory. It took a while. It took a few tries to.
It took a few tries. Yeah. She is older.
And plus, also, she's very understanding about the whole thing as well. I was direct with her, still direct and honest with her. I made sure that obviously, I'm never gonna propose marriage to her at all because we're already daughter and mom.
Yeah, mother and daughter. You know, they say there's no stronger bond than a mother and her daughter. That's true.
It took us a few nights to figure out what made what felt right and what didn't feel right. And
does your mother enjoy it?
Yeah, she's having a good time. Literally.
She is. She's having a good time. That's good to hear. Do you guys act more like brother and daughter, or do you guys act more like, lovers? When, like, say you come home from, the supermarket and you see Barbara, would you say, "Hey, sweetheart," or do you say, "Hi, mom"?
Yeah, I haven't called her mom in quite some time now.
Oh, really?
So yeah, I'm more of a calling her love at this point. And she's got really the G-spot because apparently I don't believe even Mr. C, any of her past boyfriends and ex-husbands, they haven't really reached and hit her G-spot really.
Right.
With their dicks.
Right. Oh, okay. So yours is a bit bigger.
They were more focused on themselves really, as opposed to focusing on her, which that's my focus.
After these disturbing conversations about Chris's intercourse with his mother, the two begin to talk about the Sutras. Bella makes specific comment about wanting to take pictures of the Sutras while they're at Everfree. You'll be able to tell that Chris does not show interest in her, and instead only has feelings for his mother.
But how are you feeling, Christine? How are you feeling? Because I know there's a lot of societal pressure on you about, this thing with Barbara. There's a lot of societal pressure and a lot of people, consciously who would judge, and, there's a lot of eyes on you. It must be very stressful.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I can imagine. I'm so sorry about all that stuff, yeah.
Well, still have Matt and Grizel.
You always have them. Again, my main job is photographer and bodyguard, but I could dance for a little, take photos of other ladies that might want to dance with you. Have fun, experiment. Don't just limit yourself. And I appreciate that you like the idea of open relationships, right? What if in 10 years after she's done with college and you still have a good relationship and she's grown to be a beautiful woman and everything, she says, "Christine, I really, really, really want to settle down with you. I love you from the bottom of my heart." What would you do?
Well, after she's done with college and she's got herself organized, on the highly, highly unlikely event for this timeline that she doesn't meet her long-term sweetheart that
Right.
who would be better for her, then I would definitely be up for considering.
Why do you think that she has somebody else that's better for her?
Well, I mean, I can't reveal too many details. I just can only say that she's got.
Oh, is this some psychic thingy? Did you look into the future?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I understand. Oh, I see.
Reeling from the revelation that Chris was having sex with his mother, Bella took this information to her friends at 5:44 a.m. Her friend Louise asked her if she was going to leak it to Gino Samuel. She said that she was going to leak it to the entire internet. At 5:53 a.m., Bella made her fatal mistake. She sent the audio to the Sutras. She claimed that the conversation lasted for 4 hours, but that she had only gotten some of it on recording. The Sutras took a version of the audio, which had been cut down to only a few minutes and had removed all of Bella's lines, and leaked it to the quick fan Discord she was a part of. Immediately, it spread to the wider internet. There was doubts about its legitimacy, given that it was clearly cut up and that the other speaker's voice was inaudible. So she released a second version, which included Bella's voice, although it was heavily modified.
I didn't even know there was such a thing. I didn't even know there was incest fanfiction.
For a long time, people would debate about whether the original speaker was male and was using a voice modulator to hide their identity. The information swept across 4chan and Kiwi Farms, and soon hit mainstream social media. Chris Chan trended worldwide on Twitter, and YouTuber Count Dankula called it the internet's version of 9/11. The local police were inundated with calls about Chris abusing Barb, so the cops showed up at Chris's house and took him in for questioning. Barb was sent to the hospital for a wellness check, and Chris was set free with the order that he was not to return home, and he was not to contact Barb. Let's rewind again. On July 30th, a month before Chris was arrested, Sean sent a DM to me telling me that he had overthrown Knot as the leader of the Watchmen. Hey man, my name is Connor. I'm the leader of the Watchmen. I recently overthrew Knot in a coup, and I'm basically Chris's number 2 guy now behind Josh. Lol. How did that happen? The guy was an idiot. He doxed me and thought he could get away with it. Lol. Nova, Kyle, and MKR defended him, but their opinion didn't matter. I secretly talked to Chris and presented him with all the evidence, and he agreed with me too. He then forwarded the information to Noel, and he agreed with me as well. So with those 3 gone, the Watchmen are now completely under my control. So if you have any questions regarding Chris's activities, let me know. I can't promise you that I'll provide you with everything, but I'll do my best. For now though, keep this conversation a secret until it's safe to talk about it in public. Got it. I immediately went to MKR to tell her Sean had contacted me. He had been a small player in the Watchmen, and I had no memory of him existing. His way of typing in our conversation was very similar to the anime villain persona he adopted in his gotcha call with Knot, where he tried to expose him as a doxer. In our conversation that night, MKR said, "He really wants to be in control, but he really shouldn't be. He wants to use Chris to make himself famous. He showed Chris his documentary on Randy Stair, and thinks it's funny to integrate him into the Merge lore. It's concerning to say the least." Despite hyping himself up as the second-in-command and the great liaison to Chris, Sean didn't contact me for a month. In fact, I only messaged him after the phone call with Bella's modified audio had leaked. People, including myself, were in disbelief that Chris was actually having sex with Barb. Theories included that Chris only thought he was having sex with her in the other dimension, or that Chris was lying to Bella for some reason. And then there was the golden last hope of the internet. Noel seemed to think that Chris was lying for a, quote, dumb reason. Noel's theory was that Chris did, in fact, have an older mistress he was sleeping with, and for whatever reason, he told Bella that she was Barb, because he thought that would be better than the older woman's identity getting out. I took this theory to Sean and asked him if he knew anything about the call. I'm sure you're aware of the audio leaks where Chris says he has sex with Barb. Just wanted to ask, since you guys are friends with Quick, if this is something he's ever actually talked about before, or if you know who the calls were with, and obviously if it's real or not. Even Noel doesn't seem to know. Keep in mind at this point that Sean knows Chris is talking to Bella, and that Chris has also told Sean that he was having sex with an older woman. Chris is definitely the one talking. However, the shit that people have been hearing is clearly edited to make him look bad. It's another gay op by failed trolls. Except Sean knew that that wasn't true. Everfree Northwest released a statement banning Chris from the convention, and suddenly he was homeless, sleeping in a parking lot, with no pony convention to go to. QuickTuber Dylan Thomas reached out to Chris to ask him if the rumors were true on Twitter. Chris, I hardly ever hit you up, but I feel that this needs explaining. Can you tell me what this is? Keep faith, and distance yourself from the drama and chaos going on today. Know that remaining bad vibrations of this world are being sorted and weeded out today. A detail that fell into the wrongest of hands can light the paths for the good-intended and light-powered individuals. Chris, did you do it? Yes or no? I have been cool with you, and have tried to treat you like a normal person. I think that you can at least return the favor with an actual response. I'm gonna have to talk about this, and it would help if you could explain what this is to me. I am not at liberty to discuss about this, and I ask you, please, Dylan, to not drag yourselves into this drama as well. This is a test of the remaining weeded-out toxic individuals who would take advantage of such details. You and Taylor are stronger and better than this. It bothers me that you can't say yes or no, Chris. I know the audio was messed with, I just want to know if it's true. I will trust you with the simple answer then. I ask you both to please not screen cap or share even this simple answer. Yes. This is my test for you both as well. Please prove me right. I won't screen cap it. Dylan then immediately shared these screen caps online. Famous Quick fan artists posted their disgust and disavowed Chris. People who had long followed the ongoing tale of Christery turned off their computers and walked away. Gino Samuel put his documentary series on pause, and Don LaShawn pulled his Christian book from Amazon. Even Jacob Sockness voiced his disgust and turned his back on Christian. The only person on the internet, the only person in the world who was still talking to him publicly, was Noel. But, secretly, Sean and Bella were still there. Chris was not allowed to return home, so he parked his van in a Walmart parking lot and intended to stay the night. Noel started to raise money for Chris to find a place to stay, but that all changed a few hours later. Ever since the idea guy stole money from Chris, Noel had set up a system where he received email notifications for bank transactions from Chris's account. On the night of the 31st, Noel received an email that $750 had been moved from Barb's account into Chris's. Did you ask your mom to send you money? That is probably a violation of the EPO. I did not ask her to send me money. I have refrained from contacting her at all, and continue to do so. So she sent you money on her own? She did not send me any money. I managed to find blessings in the minimum abundance I needed. Meanwhile, I presently have a little over 5 hours to kill, and both the favorite malls around here, CTC and Regency Square, don't open until 11. Do you have control over her bank accounts? Yes, I have online control, and this was an emergency. I plan on sending $750 back to her account after when the 1,000 gets into my account. Noel then blocked Chris and gave this information to the police. Taking money from Barb had violated his no-contact order. With Noel out, Chris was now in the hands of the chess club and Sean. Sean couldn't help but brag to me. So, Josh is out? From what I've seen, yes. Are you still in contact? Yup. This means I'm the new #1 guy. In case anyone is wondering why I was downplaying Bella's involvement in videos that I was making at the time, it's because I thought that Sean was the mastermind of the situation and that he was throwing Bella under the bus. This was before the leak of Bella's Discord server. I now realize that Sean is an egomaniac who likes to pretend that he is in fact an anime villain. At the time, I knew that the Sutras was a nice person, and I had been told that she was friends with Bella. It made more sense to me that Sean was some sort of villain who was throwing Bella and the Sutras under the bus. This made much more sense than Bella being the villain, who for some reason was in love with the innocent Sutras, and that she was manipulating Sean, who for some reason was purposefully taking the fall for it. As it turns out, Sean is just an idiot. And that, of course, ended up being the truth. Just another example of how, in the story of Chris Chan, truth is often stranger than fiction. Sean helped Chris get into a hotel, which he started staying in. The next day, he described one of his dreams to Sean. He said he dreamed about the video game The Binding of Isaac. In the dream, he was forced to stand still and listen to a conversation with an evolving brown blob who had a beard. Sean didn't seem to fully understand Chris's message, so Chris explained that he sees his situation as being very similar to the plot of the game The Binding of Isaac. He also says it's a sign of the dimensional merge, and of his ally, demi-deity, Jesus. Keep that in mind, as of right now, Jesus is referred to as Chris's ally. Around this time, in the real world, Binding of Isaac creator Edmund McMillan issued a statement that the Chris Chan alternate art card from his upcoming card game would be pulled before it was printed. On August 2nd, Sean began getting paranoid. His interactions with Bella had become public, and Kiwi Farms were turning on him. Even his pal, Anaxis, turned on him, with what is, in my opinion, the final nail in the coffin for Sean. You're lower than scum, you know that? I tell you genuinely good advice. Try to get you to walk away from all this quietly, and your response is to stab me in the back? Why? Why would you do this? Why would you leak a bunch of information right after you swore you'd stop? I was going to have somebody else leak stuff, along with having you and the other names redacted, but I guess Bella beat me to the punch. By all means, though, I know you're angry, and this was not what I planned. You kept talking about it. You didn't exactly step away. MKR was right about you. You were just a clout-chasing YouTuber. You can go to... On August 13th, Sean deleted his presence from the internet. This was all happening in secret. The public wouldn't know about this for weeks. All we knew at the time was that Chris was staying at a motel. YouTuber Ethan Ralph drove down there to livestream outside the building, but he couldn't get a hold of Chris. He tried knocking on all the doors of Chris's floor, but management told him to leave. Instead, he went to the mall across the street, the same mall where Chris had met Leonard Bearstein and had been given his name all those years ago. Ralph thought Chris might be there, and that did make sense, as Chris had gone there on his second day at staying at the hotel to buy food and toys. But he wasn't there. Ralph continued his streaming efforts. At the mall, Ralph actually ran into a police officer and spoke to him. Eventually, other onlookers at the hotel saw cop cars arrive and notified Ralph, who rushed over in time to see Chris being led out of his room in handcuffs. One of the arresting officers was actually the one Ralph had spoken to earlier.
Hey, officers. How's it going? Good, I just saw you. Yeah, that's right. That's you. Oh, my God. Yeah, you appear to be compliant.
Your goddess blue heart, and I continue to stand strong, and I maintain everything with quick will in my side shoes and rose shoes and everybody.
How's the last few days been? I know it's been pretty stressful.
It's stressful, but I've taken it one moment at a time, and I got my loves. I have no weed, I have no drugs, so I can see me rocking. Like I said, frisk me. There you go. That felt good.
Christine, is the merge coming? All right.
It's happening now. We're on the very
The
last
merge,
thread.
it's happening right now, isn't it?
Right now, it is.
We're living it.
It's happening right now.
Farewell, Chris Chan.
At 8:23 p.m. on August 1st, Chris was booked into Henrico County Jail West and held without bail for the crime of incest. After Chris's arrest, the public had very few updates as to how he was being handled. Onlookers had to wait for official records to be posted publicly, or for journalists to write stories about the case. Chris was officially booked as female, as he had legally changed his gender on his driver's license several years previously. This led to speculation that he would be sent to a woman's jail. On August 7th, conservative commentator Tucker Carlson commented about Chris Chan on primetime television, discussing the efficacies of putting a sexual criminal with a penis into a jail full of women.
A YouTube personality called Chris Chan has just been arrested in Virginia on, of all things, incest charges. Authorities say Chan was having sex with his 79-year-old mother who has dementia. Chris Chan is a biological man, but he identifies as a woman. Reportedly, Virginia authorities initially went along with that. They classified Chris Chan as a female, and that means Chris Chan, who is an accused sex criminal, would have been housed in a women's jail.
This did not end up being the case, however, as Chris remained in a male jail. Another controversy arose at the time, as online people found that there were no laws in Virginia that made incest between a mother and daughter illegal, as the law as it is written does not take into account transgender people and only defines intercourse as using penetration. There was speculation for a time that this could throw a wrench into Chris's case, with people eagerly thinking that such a discrepancy might take the case all the way to the Supreme Court, where the justices would have to officially define gender and rape in law. But it seems that the reality is much more simple than that, and that the legal system is simply going to treat Chris as male. On the day after Chris's arrest, someone stole his license plate from the motel parking lot and bragged about it on 4chan. Chris was assigned to county lawyer David Hellberg, who appeared with Chris for his arraignment on August 5th. The Greene County Record, a local newspaper, had a reporter in the courtroom during Chris's appearance. We get the following quotes from their article. Greene County Commonwealth's attorney Edwin Consalvo asked Judge Barretto to continue to hold Chandler without bond at the Central Virginia Regional Jail in Orange County because he's, quote, concerned about the community's safety and Miss Chandler's safety. Consalvo said it's clear that people sought out where Chandler was staying at a hotel in Henrico and videotaped her arrest. Chandler interrupted the proceedings, saying, quote, I'm famous on the internet, loudly, and then Hellberg told her not to speak until spoken to by the court. Chandler was sworn in to summarize a plan she had for bond, however, didn't appear to address that, and instead asked the court to allow her to pick up personal possessions and said she would be, quote, willing to proceed with everything if I can get that done. Judge Barretto told Chandler that there are two things to consider when deciding bond: whether a defendant is likely to appear at trial, and if the defendant constitutes an unreasonable danger to himself, his family, or his community. Chandler again interrupted the judge, saying, quote, she. The judge said he was reading from the state statute itself. Hellberg told the court he would be asking for evaluations of Chandler, who were interrupted by stomping her feet and saying loudly that she needed, quote, to get everything back home. She then said loudly, quote, I won't feel safe proceeding until, end quote, she gets the items back. Chris's hearing was scheduled for September 16th, and he was to remain in jail until then. Chris would later describe his accommodations as, quote, being in solitary, but it's unclear if that's actually the case, or if Chris is just housed away from other inmates for his safety. He spent the first few weeks between his arrest and hearing reading the Bible, writing letters, and undergoing psychological evaluations. Meanwhile, in the outside world, such a ruckus had been made about Bella that her college suspended her pending an investigation. She had already gotten in trouble for bullying other students. Kiwi Farms users had uncovered evidence that her parents might be working for the government and became paranoid that any consequences might not stick. Chris did not appear in court on September 16th. Instead, his lawyer had asked for a continuance to give time for further psychological evaluations. The new date would be November 18th. Ethan Ralph drove to the courthouse to sit in on Chris's hearing, but was turned away at the door. He was told that Chris's hearing would be closed to the public. It later became public knowledge that the hearing did not take place, and instead there was another continuance. The next scheduled date for his hearing would be February 3rd, 2022, and it was assumed that that hearing would be closed to the public as well. On September 19th, 3 days after Chris's first continuance, he was ordered to undergo psychological evaluation. Chris wrote a letter from jail to an anonymous person who then leaked it online. In the letter, Chris admitted to and defended his incest with his mother, and cursed out Noel for abandoning him at his time of need. He compared Noel to Judas, and said that his own life can be best compared to that of Jesus Christ. Kenneth Engelhart is not a new player in the Chris Chan story, although I haven't mentioned him up to this point. The Quickie describes him as, quote, an autistic Muslim Sonichu fan. Kenneth is also the owner and operator of the Onion Farms, which is a site much like the Kiwi Farms. Kenneth used to White Knight for Chris on Facebook, and along with people like Jacob Sockness, he used to buy Chris's items on eBay. He became a regular correspondent of Chris's while in jail. It's estimated that Chris wrote to over 60 people in 2021, but most of the leaked letters that have been published online have come from Kenneth. On October 4th, Chris wrote a letter to Kenneth that began thusly. This is the body of your and my soul partner, Jesus Christine Weston Chandler Sonichu, speaking to you on her blessed behalf. I know everything, though Christine knows more from her experiences since our extended separation since September 16th, 2021. She shall return to me for the apex of our second coming. For those remaining who do not yet know, between Christine and I, combined and divided, we are the real Player One, the one avatar. I, the body, am the one God body, and she and I are literally the full reincarnation of none other than Jesus Christ of Nazareth himself. Between Chris's first letter addressed to Noel in late September, where he compared his struggles with those of Jesus's, to this letter to Kenneth in early October, Chris had convinced himself that he was, in fact, the reincarnation of Jesus, and that they shared a soul. It was speculated that Chris came to this kind of thinking because the jail offered the Bible for any inmate to read, and thus Chris began incorporating the only entertainment he had access to into his disassociative fantasy. In that first letter to Kenneth, Chris specified the following. He is the second coming of Jesus. When the dimensional merge happens, he will judge humanity. The trolls and haters will burn while the good people will move on to Sonichu's dimension. Chris is writing a daily goddess log that he intends to publish when he gets out of jail. All prayers sent from around the world to Jesus since Chris's birth 40 years ago have actually gone to Chris, and he has in fact answered them. That it was his divine mission as Jesus to heal and cleanse Barb's health and soul through, quote, supportive soul bonding to extend her life, and that he had been giving tests to people like Bella, Noel, and Dylan to see if they would betray him, and that he's mad that they did. Although he does not deny having sex with Barb, he strongly implies that his confession to the three of them were lies. Chris also asked for money so he could buy food, and asked that people complain to President Joe Biden that he be pardoned. A group who had discovered Chris started writing to him to convert him to Islam, but the internet quickly scared them away. Chris's response was that Islam was equally as correct as Christianity, in that there is a God, and that Chris is that God. Kenneth also continually tried to convert Chris, and tried to buy him a Quran, but Chris kept refusing. In his following letters to Kenneth, Chris implored that people donate money to Barb to pay for their mortgage. He also started sending out ripped bottle labels that he had personally blessed, with the intention that the recipients put them on drinking bottles to bless them, although Chris specifies that they should not be put on alcohol, because if there's one thing Jesus would never do, it's bless alcohol. In a letter to a fan on November 8th, Chris claimed that he knew about Bella being evil the whole time and was just testing her and testing all the people she would spread lies to, and that all his followers failed him. When asked if he thought he would get out of jail, Chris responded, quote, I shall return to the Sonichu Temple and all shall be forgiven. I have read Revelations. Yes, I am God. He also specified that Mary Lee Walsh was the mayor of Quickville. In a letter to Kenneth on November 16th, Chris stated that he knows the outcome of his court case, but will not spoil the future for us. He then goes on to say, not guilty. I know all will resume well and good, period. If found guilty and not allowed to return home, premature apocalypse for everyone. Seriously, not good at all. On November 23rd, Barb got in a car accident that left her in the hospital for several days and totaled their car. She spent Thanksgiving there, and Chris spent the holiday in jail. On December 6th, Chris wrote his 6th letter to Kenneth, in which he announced that the dimensional merge was happening, and that everyone on the outside was surely seeing signs of it. He also addressed Noel again, calling him Judas. By this point, he was signing all his letters as Mrs. Jesus Christine Weston Chandler Sonichu, the Goddess Blueheart, Avatar and Lord, Messiah, Savior, and God of all. In a letter to a Kiwi Farms user on December 22nd, Chris stated that people should be having dreams of, quote, 2 suns over the earth burning off massively hot and toxic gases, intolerable to most and typical human individuals. A blood-red moon amidst purple-red skies. Daylight during midnight, night and early AM hours. Clocks with no arms. Many crucifixes. Everyone and yourselves wanting to be inside with the window curtains drawn, but finding that impossible to accomplish, and so on, depending and varying among individuals. He thought that these would happen as a sign of the merge. He refers to his religion as neo-spiritual Christianity. He sent to his followers an updated 10 Commandments. Thou may have and worship one or multiple gods, goddesses, and demigods, or even none at all, whichever best feels well and good with thee. Thou may make for yourself an idol that is safe and good and blessed. Thou must not make for yourself an idol that is harmful, toxic, or demonic to you or anyone else. Thou must not misuse the name of the Lord your God, or any other god, goddess, or demigod. Remember to observe the Sabbath day, Sunday, by keeping it holy. Honor thy father, mother, and any or all legal guardians who have helped greatly in your raising and support. Thou must not murder, nor commit, nor help another to commit suicide, regardless of circumstances. Adultery is okay, well, and good, as long as all involved are direct, open, and honest with each other. Thou must not commit adultery in secret from thy partners. Thou must not steal. Thou must not testify falsely against thy neighbor, or anyone, nor testify without prior knowledge of the greater contexts and truths of the circumstances and details. Thou must not covet thy neighbor's belongings. Chris spent his first Christmas in jail on December 25th, and a few days later, Barb had to pay around $100 after being found at fault for her car accident. At the end of 2021, Chris was in the objectively worst state he has been in his entire life, although, arguably, he is the safest he's been since 2005. At the end of the first video of this series, I tried to wrap the moral of the story of Chris Chan into a nice, neat bow. I tried to explain why people like me are so fascinated in him, and my conclusion, simply put, is that Chris is an everyman, and that people like watching the struggles of the everyman. In literature, there are three kinds of classic struggles. There's man versus man versus nature, and man versus self. And in the story of Chris Chan, there are good examples of all three. Now, I'm not trying to reinforce the stereotype that millennials see real life as a TV show, but I also think it's fairly accurate that most people see Chris Chan as funny internet man, and they can't wait to see what happens to him next week. The events of 2021 were a crushing blow to this fantasy. The horrors of what Chris did traumatized a large group of people who could no longer see Chris as funny internet man. Not only was the act itself so disgusting, but after 15 years, Chris had finally hurt someone besides himself. Overnight, the unique community of ChrisTubers no longer had documentary series. We had true crime shows. My first video in this series, which covered from Chris's birth until May of 2021, was 2 hours and 20 minutes long. This video, which covered the next 6 months of Chris's life, is so far 1 hour and 10 minutes long. It is half the length and covers 1/80th of the time. That's because these last 6 months have actually been Chris Chan's darkest days. It's easy now to find the answer as to why people are intrigued with Chris Chan. It's a true crime story about someone who snapped, and I think most people understand the appeal of that kind of story. Speaking of appeal, have you ever wanted to increase your appeal? Your sex appeal? That's right, I am now transitioning into an ad read. But this is not an ad read for an outside company, this is a merch announcement. GiBi merch is now available, and you too can work out with my glorious mug adorning your body. Oh, did I say mug? That's right, not only can you get this amazing logo on clothes and accessories, but you can also get this classic dog drawing. In case you haven't been on my channel for over 2 years, which most of you haven't, this drawing of a dog I did is an old meme from my first anniversary video. I told the story of how someone asked me to draw Scooby-Doo, and I drew this. And people in my audience wanted it on a shirt. Well, now it can be. I Heart My Dog is available on the GiBi merch store. And yes, that is what it said, stop laughing. I tried to make merch out of the blinky background pattern of my videos, but it didn't turn out too well, so those actually aren't going to go live when the merch store goes live. But if you actually want that, then let me know and I'll work harder on making sure that the pattern works across a variety of clothing. The merch store is now live and a link to it is in the description. I want to make sure that everybody buys a copy of this mug for the dog lovers in their life. It'll show that you really care. The pattern's also available on like clothes and stuff like that. The GiBi logo is a little more expensive because I wanted to make sure I was able to pay my artist right, but that one is as cheap as I can possibly make it. If you want further updates on Chris Chan, I've been covering his antics in the year 2022 on my channel already. If you want more up-to-the-date announcements, you can follow me on Twitter at GiBi_Devin. Later this year, or really early next year, I'm going to, of course, be making part 3 to this series, where I summarize all of Chris Chan's 2022 in one video. If you're interested in Chris Chan to watch 2 long videos about him that total over 3 hours, then I also recommend my 4-hour-long Sonichu video. And if you're interested in other lore cows and lol cows, then I recommend my videos on Hampshire and Merlogic. My name is GiBi, and I can't wait to show you what I'm working on next.